Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video I want to share with you my top 10 favorite fall palette picks for the season. Did that make sense? My top 10 fall eyeshadow palettes video is here. I have really thought about my picks and I'm pretty confident about them as per usual. I have a little bit of new, a little bit of old. I have some bigger palettes, some smaller palettes, and a good variety of brands in my top 10 picks, and I can't wait to share them with you. If you're excited for this video, don't forget to please give it a thumbs up and let's go ahead and get started. The fall season is definitely one of my favorite seasons to pick palettes for because I love the colors of fall. And as a surprise to nobody, the first palette I want to talk to you guys about is this one here, the Yucca palette from Natasha Denona. The Yucca palette came out a few months ago, and as soon as I played with it, as soon as I made looks with this one, I was convinced this was going to be a fantastic color story come the fall time. And guess what? It's the fall time now, and I know that I'm going to get a lot of looks out of this palette. It has the kind of vibes of like the look I'm wearing today, for example. Not what I'm using, but it does have the beautiful olive green colors. You can also deepen it up with this forest green shade. It has the metallic golds, the metallic gold green duochromes. It also has some absolutely stunning warm shades. I love me a good mustard for the fall season, and so all of these shades combined are going to make the most fantastic fall looks for you. I reviewed this palette when it first came out, and I believe in my review video you can find 2 looks with this palette. And then, as I always do with all Natasha Denona releases, I also created a 5 looks 1 palette with the Yucca palette, which was a lot of fun. It was definitely out of season for me because this palette came out during the summertime, and it definitely put me in the fall mood back then. But now it is the perfect time for me to bring this one out and have it front and center in my collection so that I can really reach for it and play with all of the fantastic shades that this palette has to offer. When it comes to shimmer, some of my favorite shades with this palette are these 3 colors here. We have the shade Plantasia, Komorebi, and Macchia here, and as you can see, these are beautiful metallic colors that are going to be great for the fall time. Especially when combined with mattes like these. We have Acacia, Calathea, Citrine, and Tipu. Those shades combined can make all of your fall dreams come true. This was my first and foremost palette right here. I couldn't start this video any other way. Let's move on to palette number 2. Palette number 2 is a quad. It is my favorite quad I've ever had, and it is an essential palette in everyone's collection. If you don't have this quad yet, what are you waiting for? On the next Pat McGrath sale, you need to grab it. And of course I'm talking about the quad that made me cry. I see you guys already in the comments making fun of me. The beautiful, stunning, very messy looking, hold on, can we clean this? Don't judge it, it's a very loved palette, okay? So take a look right here. I'm talking, of course, about the Venus in Fleur Luxe Quad in Voyeuristic Vixen by Mother Pat McGrath. This palette has a fantastic, fantastic burgundy shade that I love and that it's perfect for the fall season. It has the most magical duochrome shade of all time. And it also has this bronzy look and this inner corner highlighter right here. I love every look I have ever created with this palette. The shade right there in the middle is, like I said, the most magical shade I've ever tried. And you can find different looks on my channel with this palette as well. Even though it's just a quad, I loved it so much I had to create multiple looks with it. So I have a look that I created on the original video, and then I also have 3 looks with this one in a separate video because I just couldn't stop using it when I first got it. And every fall, this is one of the first palettes I think of, one of the first palettes I want to reach for. If you want to create a really stunning burgundy look with lots of sparkles, this right here is a perfect palette for that. Let's do a palette from an indie brand next, Adept Cosmetics, and this is not just the best fall palette from Adept Cosmetics, it's also my favorite, my all-time favorite palette from Adept Cosmetics. I'm talking, of course, about the Ninidrin palette from Adept Cosmetics, and you can take a look right here at the absolutely stunning color story. Adept Cosmetics has the most fantastic shimmers and multi-chrome shades for your eyelids. It's definitely my favorite thing about the brand. I do have a discount code with them, so if you want to get your hands on the Ninidrin palette, please use code PATTY10 and you can get a 10% off discount on this palette or any other palettes on their website. They have a new palette for fall too that looks really beautiful. But anyways, back to my favorite here. Shades like AC122 right here are full perfection. I also love AC123, AC125. Honestly, any of the beautiful glimmery shimmery shades this palette has are going to be spectacular for the fall season. And then the palette also has two stunning matte shades. It has this cool tone purple one, and it has this fantastic olive green right here that will beautifully accompany any of the shimmer shades from this palette. I mean, this palette is fun to just even swatch, and you guys are not even seeing like the dimension of these colors, because when I show you on the camera you see maybe 1 to 2 shades in each. This one looks blue purple, but when I see them myself I really see a lot more variety in the multi-chrome-ness of the shades. Anyways, as I said, Adept Cosmetics has a fantastic formula when it comes to their duochromes, their multi-chromes, and their glitters, and I could not recommend the Ninidrin palette enough. This palette is perfection for the fall season. I've done a few looks with this one on my channel, but I honestly can't recall the specific videos because I think I've done maybe short videos where I've used it, and then I definitely did do a full-length video with this one, but I think it was this one and like some other palettes. If I find it, I'll put it on the screen in case you guys want to find the video, but this palette blows me away and I love it. I also selected an Anastasia palette that I thought would be perfect for the fall season, and it's not the new Fall Romance one, although that one was definitely a contender, and it's also not the Rose Metal palette from last year's fall. That one is not one that I reach for all that often. The palette I'm talking about that I think is amazing for the fall time from Anastasia is this one right here. This is the Anastasia Novo palette, and if you take away that purple in the middle, all of the rest of the shades around it are perfect soft shades for the fall season. If you think of soft fall eyeshadow looks, these right here are the shades that I would go for. Shades like Metro, Lily, Hope, Liberty. These shades right here make for some fantastic, very easy to accomplish fall eyeshadow looks. I do have a couple of videos playing with this palette from when it first came out. I have the original review video that I did with this one, and I also have my 5 looks one palette. So if you have this one and you want to pull it out this fall, you can find some inspiration in my 5 looks one palette video for some looks that maybe you want to recreate. But I absolutely love this one. It has great soft formulas, and I loved combining it with that lilac purple shade. I feel like you could even during the fall time because it brings out a really beautiful contrast to the rest of the shades. Absolutely love this one, and if you have it, I recommend that you pull it out this fall. I think I'm getting a cold. My throat has been very dry for the past 2 days, and I'm trying to film 2 videos today to get ahead in case I can't talk tomorrow. So if you hear me kind of choking on some words, that's why, because my throat is super dry at the moment. Let's move on to the next one, and this next one is the most affordable palette I'm going to mention, I'm pretty sure, and also the tiniest palette I'm going to mention. It's from Pat McGrath, and it is this cute little thing right here. This is the mini eyeshadow palette in Sublime Smoke. This cute little 6-band palette has a fantastic full color story. Every single one of those matte shades are going to be great for the fall time. And so are the shimmers. I swatched all 6 of the shades for you right there. Any combination of a color story like this one is going to be perfect for this time of year. You can create soft looks with this one, you can intensify your looks with this one, and it is quite the perfect full eyeshadow palette, so I highly recommend this one. Plus it's less than $30, and if you buy it from the Pat McGrath website you can get it like 25 to 30% off most of the time, so it's a great little palette to have and to travel with. I do have a couple of videos on my channel with this one. You can always search on my channel and just write the name of the palette that you want to see in the little search bar, and the videos will definitely pop up for you. 5 down, 5 to go, and the next palette is also from an indie brand that I absolutely love, and I'm talking about Fantasy Cosmetica, the palette being the Fighter palette. This one came out a couple of months ago, and as I saw it, I just thought it was the perfect color story for the fall time. Don't get me wrong, you can use this palette kind of year round because it does have a lot of beautiful neutral shades, and it also has these dual chrome purpley silver shades up here that are stunning. But when I see colors like Fervor, Victory, and Valor, I immediately think soft, sparkly fall eyeshadow looks, and so I feel like those are exactly the types of looks that you can create with this one. Let me swatch some of these for you so you can see them. I love these shades. And Fantasy Cosmetica, even if you've never heard of this brand before, trust me when I tell you the formulas are on point, okay? The formulas are great, they are fantastic. Me being as boring as I am, I think this might just be my favorite palette they've ever made because it has some neutral nude shades to play with, and they usually go for much more colorful color stories, but this right here is right up my alley. I've done looks with this one, I've done shorts with it, I did a review possibly on my channel with it as well, if you want to get at least a couple of looks for inspiration. But this little palette right here is fantastic. The matte formulas are excellent, they are blendable, they are pigmented, they are soft, and I mean, I don't even have to tell you about the shimmer sparkly shades because I know that you can feel through the screen how freaking soft and pigmented and beautiful they are. As with every single palette in this video, I highly recommend. This next brand I'm going to mention is a little bit hit or miss for me. Some of the color stories are a bit too out there. However, with the palette I'm going to show you, they nailed it, at least when it comes to me and my makeup preferences. Every single shade in this palette has a perfect formula. The matte shades blend like a dream. They are soft, they are pigmented, they go so well with one another, and the shimmer shades took my breath away, okay? Plus, I loved the theme of this palette as well. Let me just show you it. I'm not going to leave you wondering any longer. I'm talking about the Nomad Cosmetic Ghost Town USA palette. When I tell you that this is my new all-time favorite palette from Nomad Cosmetics, I am not lying, and you can see why this is a perfect palette for the fall time. As you can see by a lot of the palettes I'm picking out, I am into a soft fall mood this year, but you know, you can never go wrong with a good bronzy shade. This is actually like right in between a burgundy and a bronze, I would say. This shade here is also fantastic, and these greens are perfection for the full time. Just take a look right there at the creaminess and the pigmentation of those shadows. Additionally, I loved the brown colors that they created and the green colors that they created for this one as well. Oh, I touched the wrong shade. Hold on. This is the one I wanted. Take a look right here at the stunning matte shades that this palette has as well, and how beautiful it can combine with the shimmers I pointed out earlier. I did a video reviewing this palette where I created 2 different looks with it. I'm pretty sure it was 2 different looks, and both looks came out beautiful. Like I said, I love the color story, and I swatched all of the shades for you in that video. Every single shade performs like an absolute dream. I can't recommend this palette enough. Like I said, it's my new all-time favorite palette from Nomad Cosmetics. They knocked it out of the park with this one. I simply love it. Before I forget, I do have discount codes with both of these. You can get a 10% off the Fighter palette on the Fantasy Cosmetica website with code PATTY10. And you can use that same code on the Nomad website to get a 10% off the Ghost Town USA palette. All of the links to all of these palettes are going to be down below in the description box. But I don't want to forget to tell you guys about my coupon codes as well, because I want to save you some money in case you're interested in any of these. Next, let's talk about a Huda Beauty palette. This one right here is the Empowered palette by Huda Beauty, which I believe was last year's release, if I remember correctly. I love this palette and the range that it offers. Let me just right out the gate show you the 5 Looks 1 palette that I created with this one, because the 5 Looks 1 palette that I created with this one made me realize how special this palette truly is. I also did 2 extra looks on my review video. This palette has everything you would need for like year round, but I love it most for the fall time because of this gold shade right here. It is a stunning, stunning gold. I'm also obsessed with this matte, super dark, warm brown. This purple shade right here is perfection. And you have all of these warm matte colors that can warm up any eyeshadow look you might want. Huda's big eyeshadow palettes are always made in Italy, which means that they have some of the best formulas out there. Every shimmer is super pigmented, every matte shade blends like an absolute dream, and overall I think that this color story is one of her best. It's one of her all-time best for sure. She even put a cream black shade in there that you can play with. Honestly, when I first saw this palette last year, I wasn't like, first impressions, I wasn't overly impressed, I don't think. But once I played with it, I realized how good this palette is and the amazing potential that it has when it comes to creating a variety of looks with it while still being a pretty like neutral, everyday type of color story, right? So love it, highly, highly recommend it. We only have 2 more palettes to go, and they are both from the same brand, and that brand is Oden's Eye. The first Oden's Eye palette that I can think of when I think fall is one that is relatively new but not brand new, and that is this one right here. This came out a few months ago. It is the Stone and Rock palette from Oden's Eye, and a more perfect full-time olive green color story does not exist, okay? I'm exaggerating, maybe it does, but this one is quite close to perfection right here. This color here is unique, it is beautiful, it is shimmery, it is sparkly, and when combined with olivey matte colors like these, it could be perfect for the fall season. I also love that this palette has colors like Jubilance here, which kind of make it a bit more interesting. It gives the palette some more dimension. This bronzy shade right here is fantastic as well. I love Oden's Eye's eyeshadow formulas. I love the shimmers, I love the mattes, and I was so impressed with this palette and this collection when it first came out. There was another palette that came out along with this one that I also really love, but that one was more spring summer appropriate. This right here is full-time perfection. It's just like missing an orange maybe. Fantastic duochromes, fantastic like inner corner shades. Just everything you can need for the fall time you can find in this Stone and Rock palette right here from Oden's Eye. So I highly, highly recommend this one. I do also have an Oden's Eye discount code. It's also Patty10, and you can get 10% off of this palette with my discount code at Oden's Eye. The discount code does not work on collaboration items though. And the last palette I have to suggest to you is a collaboration palette that just came out. I just tried it like 3 to 4 days ago, but I can't stop thinking about it for the fall time because I think it's quite a beautiful and different take on like fall and Halloween. Of course, talking about the Angelica Nyqvist and Oden's Eye collab, specifically the Trick or Treat palette. This palette is fun for the fall. It has bright, beautiful shades. If you are a colorful person, this right here is your perfect fall palette. You have bright yellows, bright oranges, bright greens. You even have some reddish, purpley shades back here to play with. This mint color, which is kind of unexpected, but it kind of works with the rest of the shades in this one. I mean, I could swatch every single shade to make my point about this being a very fun fall palette, but I'll settle for a few. This yellow shimmer right here, bright fall perfection, Jack-O' Lantern right here, an amazing bright orange shade. I also love the color Cemetery down here, which can bring things down a little bit if need be. And the greens in this palette, I'm just gonna swatch all 4 of them because they deserve to be swatched. The greens in this palette were my absolute most favorite thing. You barely have to touch them for them to give you full pigmentation. I created a beautiful green look with this palette in my original review video that I can't stop thinking about. I didn't even want to go into the rest of the shades on the palette because the greens are so good. This shade right here, just an amazing dark forest green duochrome, and you can also go bright and fun with it. Like I said, I wanted to include this palette in this video because it is fun, it is bright, it is exciting, and it's also a very fall palette with the oranges and the green shades. It makes you feel in tune with the season in a very unexpected way, and so I really love it for that. Plus Auden's Eye, just like I said, amazing formulas that I love. So if you're interested, this is now available on the Auden's Eye website. My code does not apply to this one. It will apply to the Stone and Rook though. But I just thought I had to mention the Trick or Treat palette because I do think it is fantastic for the fall time, especially if you are into beautiful, bright, colorful makeup. That concludes these top 10 fall eyeshadow palettes video. I truly hope that you guys liked my picks. I'm going to leave those out where I see them so that I can reach for them whenever I'm doing looks this fall. And that is all I have for today's video. As I said, all of the information on all of these palettes and all of the coupon codes and all of that is down below in the description box, so definitely check it out if you're interested in purchasing any of these. Let me know which ones of these you already have and you're pulling out this fall to play with. I really hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up before you leave. I love you all so much. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye.